Can go ahead and make a motion if it's time for that. So, all right. I move that we pass resolution number 2018-15, authorizing the renewal of a 5-year local option tax at the rate of $1.50 per 1,000 of assessed valuation.
I'll second.
Adequate? Yeah.
Discussion?
So, we had asked in May for additional information, and one of the items was Lake Oswego's local option levy and their dedication of a certain portion to mental health and other services. And Dr. Ludwig provided that, and the majority of it, again, let's see, is used for social and emotional learning counselors at the primary and secondary level, support learning specialists, mental health and social emotional learning counselors, and then some additional positions for support, STEM, STEAM, and additional student resource officer. It passed by a big margin. It was 58% to 41%. And to the extent that mental health is a highly recognized need now, I was hoping by asking that question that we might consider, at least talk about increasing the levy to dedicate more funding to mental health services, or at the least earmarking in the ballot language some of the funding for mental health and health services, as did Lake Oswego. They were highly successful in doing so. I know that Dr. Ludwig has indicated that we have increased the number of health and mental health staff, but when you adjust for enrollment, I still am concerned that our caseloads of up to 725 students is high, and I think we heard from students this evening that I think that there is a need for mental health services for students. I'm just throwing out the concept of either.
Dr. Ludwig has a response.
Okay.
Well, when you had asked that question to give some of that context, one of the things I did not include in that response is that when Lake Oswego, and I want to be really careful not to speak for all of the staff or the board, but in their initiation of getting ready for that, House Bill 3427 had not passed. There was wonder about that bill, and things were being developed. If you recall the 4 buckets that are part of House Bill 3427, one of them is around student safety and wellness. Counselors, mental health professionals are part of what the state is expecting out of a needs assessment that many school districts will apply for, because many school districts do not have local option levies. And so it's a way that the state is providing additional funding specifically in that area that you've addressed. So we could certainly use portion of the House Bill 3427, that $2 billion, towards doing exactly that as it emerges through a needs assessment, which we certainly have heard from a number of community members that they believe it's a need. And how we can write that into a grant should be fairly easy. We've got a lot of that data through testimony as well as focus groups and advisories. And so it's a matter of putting that into our grant application. Knowing that the state is giving that money, and when Lake Oswego went out for their levy in May, things were just getting passed. Now it's been a while, and there's probably an expectation from the community that we use that portion of House Bill 3427 to address that need. Whether we can do that and now go out for a new additional increase on top of this would be a message we'd have to very carefully craft as to why we're asking for even additional funding after the state has provided a revenue source for that exact need.
And even,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
I would also point out that the $1.50 assessment is based on the assessed value, which has incrementally increased across the district along with our enrollment. And so the net is more than in past local options. It would respond to the increased enrollment that we have, simply because of the assessed value of the district has increased significantly.
The question I have for you, Dr. Ludwig, is the grant associated with that law. Is that sustainable over time then, though we're not, it's not a grant in the sense that you apply for it and you get it once and the funding goes away or dries up?
So if you recall in my superintendent report, those rules are continuing to be developed, but there is a working assumption that this legislation with this additional tax revenue, as long as it's not repealed by the voters, is something that would continue in the state of Oregon. And just like Measure 98, that it would continue to be a funding source.
So unlike the levy, it wouldn't necessarily have an end.
I think there's always an opportunity to bring tax reforms in front of voters. So I wouldn't say
Right.
never, but I think there's a groundswell across the state around seeing mental health support, counseling support, and that's exactly what was written into House Bill 3427 in one of those 4 buckets around a provision for school districts to now make that ask in their grant application.
Thank you.
And I would also just note that the current language doesn't exclude the hiring of counselors and mental health professionals. It provides us discretion into how we can best utilize that money for district personnel. And I also think too, we got to keep in mind that Mr. Wright and his female counterpart, who I cannot recall, who gave us a presentation, they vetted this information, and one of the things that some of the feedback we got was that while leading with hiring of mental health professionals wouldn't necessarily cost us a bond, that the response was more positive when we led with hiring of teachers. So, that to me reflects that, well, there may have been our community may be a little bit different than our neighboring community, and that what we are doing is actually responsive to what our community has asked.
Further discussion before we vote?
I would just remind the board that what we may be looking at is putting 2 ballot measures on a November ballot, a capital bond and a local option. Lake Oswego had 1. And so that's just something to consider as a board, that we have two messages that we need to deliver to the community.
So I have a question about that. The resolution shows that this was done in 2000, 2004, 2008, and 2014. Were any of those levies passed with a bond measure on the same ballot?
2 of them did. The last 2 were.
And have you noticed, was there a dip in support for the bond or the levy when it was associated with the other?
They both passed, both times. And the last time the bond passed and local option passed with a higher percentage of yes votes than ever before.
Okay, thanks.
Chelsea King Martin,
Aye.
Betty Reynolds,
Aye.
Ginger Fitch,
Aye.
Dylan Hides,
Aye.
Reagan Molitor.
Yes.
I think I'm done.
Are you ready to continue, Dr. Ludwig? Thank you, Mr. Woodley.
At this time, I'd like to call forward our friends and colleagues at Three Rivers Charter School, and I appreciate your patience as you've listened to us work through some important information. We know we're a little behind in our schedule, but thank you for your patience. I know also, Mr. Chapin, you have some colleagues and parents, it looks like, in the audience from Three Rivers Charter School, so we'll let you decide how to introduce folks. We're going to tonight hear a presentation from Three Rivers Charter School, and then also what is in front of the school board is a decision tonight to adopt a charter renewal for Three Rivers Charter School.
All right, well, Board Chair Fitch, directors, Dr. Ludwig, thank you for having me tonight to talk about Three Rivers Charter School, and she gave me about 15 minutes to put a whole year into a presentation, so I'm going to do my best to keep us on track and on time here. 2018-19 has been a fantastic school year for Three Rivers, but it also has been one of transition since I am new in the administrator role, the first one that's been different in 18 years. So with that came a lot of learning and growth from me, from our community, from our students, from our families. And before I took the job, I was actually given a quote by one of my mentors, and it's from John Gordon. It says, "Progress is important, but when innovating and driving change, make sure and honor your tradition, purpose, and culture. This generates power from your past to create your future." And it was great advice for me as I started to really learn about the community, learn about who we were at TRCS, and learn about where we are going. So that's kind of been the foundation for where I was going. Team TRCS, that is something that if you get our newsletter or you hear me talk, is something I talk quite a bit about. I fully believe that it's an entire team, an entire community that makes a school great. And that is from our partnerships. That is one of our board goals, to continue to partner with not only our community members, our families, our students, but also the district. The other thing that we talk a lot about is culture building. And for me, being in a leadership role, every day it is the #1 agenda item. Our culture is super important to us. And so for us, a couple driving factors for that is creating a culture where people aren't afraid to fail. Education is sometimes messy. It's sometimes failure is our best learning tool. And I think our kids these days deserve a safe place to fail and learn. And so that's one of our driving culture foundations. The other one is trust in creating engaged relationships. With every day, we are working on relationships with kids and families and making sure that they feel safe where they're at, making sure they feel like they're getting what they need from us. And that is driving where we're moving towards. And then I'm a big believer in positive energy. I think positive energy and positive people go a long way in education. Education can be a tough, every 9 months. It's kind of it has its ups and downs throughout the entire year, and that positive energy and positive people around our students are really going to drive the success of our school. So that is Team TRCS, and so you will hear me use that term quite a bit. I wanted to share a few of our academic successes this year. This is our MAP scores for 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, and the next slide also has 7th and 8th grade. And it does have comparison data on there, but the thing that we focus on most is the comparison data within our own school, and are we growing each time we take an assessment. And so we were really excited this year. We kind of finished our assessment period along with our state testing the last couple of weeks, and for the most part, in every grade level in both subject areas, we were able to show growth all 3 times we tested, and so we're very excited about that progress. Also, we didn't have all our OSAS data or Smarter Balance data at the time of this presentation. Math, we were pretty close to having everybody in. We were trending at a 94% pass rate, which for us is a 12% growth over last year, which is also very exciting for us. And our language arts is right around the same as it has been in the past, about 93, 94%, but we don't have all that data back yet. So these are some of the fun things that we get to do on a day-to-day basis at Three Rivers. Some of the things that we think make Three Rivers special. This is family life at TRCS. Every year we're on trimesters, so 3 times a year we get in families, and that consists of 2 8th graders, 2 7th graders, 2 6th graders, 2 5th graders, and 2 4th graders. And our families do a lot of different things together during that term, whether it's creating their family names, doing skits, eating lunch together, performing activities. They are also in charge of cleaning our building at the end of each day, so the families work on that at the end of each day, which is a fun process. But it really gives our 8th graders an opportunity before they kind of were at our school being 4th through 8th, they're kind of the top dog, and getting them the opportunity to lead and be part of leading a family, leading students that are lower in age compared to them, but also gives our younger students a wonderful opportunity to get to meet the older kids as the year goes on. Those groups get switched up, and so we have a lot of fun with our family life at TRCS. One of the other things that we try to do each year, which I think is really cool, is service at TRCS. Every student has the opportunity to go on a community service field trip. So those include the Blanchet House, downtown Portland, feeding the homeless, Clackamas Bookshelf, the Oregon Food Bank, Oregon Humane Society, the Northwest Children's Outreach. And then for the first time, we undertook, the top picture up there, we undertook our first ever all-school community service project. And so we were at Mary S. Young Park pulling ivy. We were there for about 2 hours. We scheduled it last October, thinking hopefully we get 65 degrees. And on that May day, it happened to be 91 degrees. So at least we were in the shade. It was a great time. There is a lot of ivy to pull at Mary S. Young Park, but we did our best to try to contribute in that way as well. Outdoor school is a big event for us. We take 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. We headed off to Bar M Ranch this year, which is just outside of Pendleton. As you can see, there was a lot of snow at Bar M Ranch. In some places, about 2 feet of snow. We teamed with an organization called Trackers, who they do a lot of summer camps out of the Portland area, and they had 6 staff members with us, and they were fantastic leading all the events that we did while we were there. Survival skills, we were building fires, we were building shelters in the snow, we were learning about biomes, we were tracking different types of animals in the snow. Really a fun place to go. We enjoyed our time there. We made it through the cold. The first 2 days it snowed from most of the first day and half the second. Then after that it was actually beautiful weather, and I think our kids had a blast. We had a fun time over there, so fun event. And then the other thing we like to do is we like to play as hard as we can too. We work very hard, we work hard in the classroom, but we also try to create magical moments for our kids throughout the year that they will look back on and remember. And we try to do it at times when maybe they're least expecting it. So maybe we're going through a difficult curriculum, or we've been working hard on 2 weeks on IP projects or something like that, and really try to create moments that engage and entertain our students, and moments hopefully that they remember with their peers as they continue to move forward. So kind of with that, looking at, hey, where are we headed? So we're still looking at, I'm not going to read all these. There's a couple that up there that I'm passionate about. Growing our partnerships in community, continuing to partner with the district. I cannot say enough positive things about my experience in West Linn-Wilsonville. They have been so welcoming, and it's been a fantastic group to work with, and so we're very appreciative of that. Continuing to remove barriers for attendance, looking at transportation, looking at lunch programs, things like that as we continue to move forward. Seeking best practices on the business side of the school, which is kind of unique to a charter school, so looking at board practices, fiduciary responsibility and human resources, working on making TRCS sustainable well into the future, and then trying to deliver the best education we can give our families that choose to come to TRCS. I'm going to play a short little video. This video was made by our 8th grade group for our auction, but it's like 3 minutes long, and there is a little bit of editing that they like to do, so you'll hear the music and stuff, but I'll let it roll and then we can wrap it up.
Well, TRCS is special to me because family and friends. You have a lot of family group activities, lots of PE units, and they make it really special for you.
I think one of the ways that TRCS has affected me most as a person is that I've been able to make more healthy relationships at school and get my work in and complete my work and get it in on time with less people distracting me because there's less people in the school. And I've also been able to form more solid friend groups.
TRCS means to me that it's personal one-on-one education, and so if you're struggling with something and the teacher can help you a lot with it, and sometimes kids who may struggle in math don't struggle in science or social studies and they're actually really good at it, and it's finding those personal what you're kind of good at education, and that's really helpful to learn who you are in your your journey through academics.
I love that there's such a community feel. Everyone knows who you are and what your name is. No one's going like, hey, what's that girl's name, or who's that guy, or whatever. Like 8th graders associate with 5th graders, and that wouldn't happen in any other school. So the fact that it's happening in TRCS is amazing.
The academics of Three Rivers have really helped me grow as a person, and they give me the tools I need to succeed in high school next year.
So when I first came to Three Rivers, I was not a very organized person. Like I was just really messy. I wouldn't turn in assignments on time. I wouldn't know what I had to do on each day. But after being here for a while, I really learned how to use my time effectively and how to be organized and how to have a plan. So before, when I used to have a big project or something, I would end up doing the entire project on the last day. But as I've been here for longer and longer, I've learned how to segment projects and how to manage my time and how to organize my day.
Throughout the year, and so they've done a lot of video projects, so it's been a lot of fun. And kind of with that is my as quick as possible year wrap up. There's plenty more, so if you have questions, you can ask those too, but also come visit us. So one of the things that we do is independent projects, and it's kind of a 2-month journey for students at each grade level working on incorporating all of our curricular areas into one project. And we do a big portfolio night walk, and that is tomorrow at 6:30. But then any other time you want to come visit, let me know, and we'll set up a time for you to come tour and see what we're doing at TRCS. And so with that, I want to thank you guys, the West Linn-Wilsonville School Board, for having a school like TRCS in its community. Dr. Ludwig and her incredible district staff. I can't say, it's just been fantastic to work with you guys. Our board at TRCS, our TRCS teachers and staff, our families and students, and then our entire community. So thank you very much.
Questions from board members?
Before we start, Nick, could you introduce, I see board members, Lisa.
Yes.
And so could you have board members stand and the staff that's also here this evening?
Yes, so board members, Lisa McEldowney, Karen, Denise, and Jill are joining us. One of our teachers, Miss Elston, and a couple parents, also Karen and Stephanie Napick.
You're welcome.
So thank you for the presentation, and looking at your State of Oregon report card, your results are amazing. I mean, high and greatly exceed state standards. But also looking at the demographic information, I know you use a lottery, but I'm just wondering about what you do to encourage diversity in your enrollment.
Yeah, so that's something we're definitely working towards. And in a variety of ways, trying to look at it. Our hope is that as we continue as the location change too, also, we had a huge demographic from Westland from the Westland area, as the old building was at the old bank building as you cross the bridge. Now being centrally located, we're starting to see some growth in the Wilsonville community as well. So tuning into some of those things, and then also removing some of those barriers, looking at lunch programs and transportation. And so those are things that are on kind of our next strategic plan to really focus on.
I want to apologize for not getting out to see you before tonight, and I appreciate you extending the invitation then and again, and I will. Likewise, thank you for this. This was has a lot of information in it and is very helpful. This might be an old complaint, but one that I had heard from our community, again, in the context of our kids did great at 3 charters. We were very happy to have them there. But then when they transitioned to high school, we had a problem getting a report card. And I noticed part of our agreement involves records. And I'm not sure it's referring to report cards, but maybe you could just speak to whether your students get a report card that can then transition to the high schools within the district.
Yeah, so yes, we do. It'd be interesting to know why that happened. I don't know. But 6th, 7th, and 8th graders are getting, in all our core subject areas, they're getting letter grades that would then move on to the high school with them in their CUME report, in their CUME file.
Okay, and then this is for the district, as one of our concerns is making sure that we transition students well between 8th grade into 9th grade. Is there an attempt to make sure that we are incorporating these students in any of that outreach?
Yeah, the communication about incoming freshman nights, I'm looking at our principals are gone this evening, but those are also extended. Additionally, for students who are on an IEP, there is opportunity for that type of a transition between Three Rivers Charter School and the district.
I would add to that too. We've really worked in this last year looking at curriculum that the district's using, looking at how we can align kind of our model as much as possible to the district's model, so it isn't such a jump. If kids are going from TRCS, and that's in any of their 5 years, to a school anywhere else in the district, that those things would align and that they would be seeing some of the same things and hearing some of the same things. So.
And if I could just real fast, I'd like to make a motion that we approve. I'd like to make a motion that we renew the charter with Three Rivers Charter School for the years 2019 through 2024. Per the updated contract. Thank you.
I'll second.
Further discussion or questions?
Chelsea King Martin.
Oh, are we discussing? I do have one question. Thank you. Thank you for the report and for all of you for being here. I anecdotally know Three Rivers Charter School to be a beloved school for the families who attend it. And I do have one wondering, I don't know if it's in here, I've been perusing it, maybe it is, but what are the fundraising requirements for your families and how does that work? It's a question that I'm sometimes
asked. So
asked.
we've really looked at, in the past, they've used the Kids First Pledge, which is kind of a pledge, a fundraising pledge, and we still use that as one of our main, that is our main fundraiser. And so we've been looking at ways as we continue to remove barriers, how can we lessen that expense or lessen what we're asking from families to really move our program. And then this year we brought back our auction, which we hadn't had for a while because of the capital campaign that they ran to build the school. As I believe that was why it kind of went away, and now it's kind of coming back. So looking at other ways to offset some of those fundraising methods.
And then I'd just like to add, I have had the pleasure of serving as board liaison to Three Rivers Charter School for, well, actually it was the year before the past charter renewal. And I thoroughly enjoyed the experience throughout this time. This charter renewal process wasn't unlike any other kind of contract negotiation that we've had. It's very amicable. It's very, how can we work alongside of each other? Are there areas where the district could come alongside the charter school and provide additional support? Where possibly are there avenues of alignment? This idea that our students, start within our greater district schools, and then go into TRCS, but then they return to the larger district system, and the through lines that we talk about with any other school. It's like, how can we better improve those with Three Rivers? And Nick Chapin has been incredible as a new leader of that school to work with and have these discussions with. I would also mention that we had the opportunity to meet with teachers. Both Meg and Denise sat down and just shared their experiences and their culture of their school and areas where they felt we as a district could help better support the school, and areas where that school has further growth, just like any of our other schools. With regards to the charter itself, some of the new terms, some of them are more almost clerical in nature. TRCS moved locations, so we need to update the address in the charter. Some smaller items like that, change in leadership, change in names. And then, as Nick mentioned, also just looking at the contract with an eye to what are the terms of the contract, what is it requiring, being that since the last renewal, our district has new leadership through Dr. Ludwig. Mr. Chapin is new leadership for TRCS. So just kind of ensuring that everyone has a meeting of minds and understanding as to the existing terms, as well as just that look forward that Mr. Chapin explained this evening about, where is there room for improved practices at TRCS? Where is there room to potentially create greater diversity at TRCS? It's been a really open discussion about these things, and where they will be in 2024 when we revisit these terms again.
Mr. Chapin, thank you for being here. I also need to get to Three Rivers at some point to look it over, so thank you for your invitation. I guess my question to you is kind of a big question. I would invite your board members to speak to it as well, which is why? I assume this school is filling a hole in the community. What hole or what role is this school filling, and why is this an essential part of the West Linn-Wilsonville School District? What's different being offered here?
I can give my responses, but anybody else want to come up and give their response? I think my just kind of in my year long being there is it's a little bit of a different age grouping, a little bit of a different model, and in the size being 110 kids and definitely being smaller and a close knit community. The way we kind of do curriculum cycles is a little bit different. Our teachers are teaching fourth grade language arts one term, and the next term they might be teaching sixth grade language arts, and then they might be teaching fifth grade language arts. So they're teaching a variety of topics throughout the day, throughout the year. And so their ability to build relationships with kids and the time that they spend with kids, I think, is really what is different a little bit at TRCS. And so really getting to know the entire population and creating a really close-knit community, something that I've seen.
Hello, my name is Lisa McEldowney. I used to be Lisa Ellingson, and I have 5 children. That my oldest daughter actually was part of the 4-5-6, which for any of you who've been around was the precursor to the charter school. She's now 31, and all of my children went through the West Linn-Wilsonville School District, graduated from West Linn High School, started at Willamette Primary. And our journey, all I can do is speak for why I think it fills a really important role. My oldest daughter really had a hard time with transitions, so I remember every beginning of the school year was just horrible because she couldn't deal with change. So when at Willamette Primary, she finally got into a 2-3 blend, and we hit 3rd grade, and it was this really easy transition. I said, and then I heard about the 4-5-6. I'm like, I'm getting my kid in that program, because then I get 3 years in a row where I can have that consistency. And it was a wonderful experience. In the middle of that 4-5-6 is when we went for the charter, and I was actually one of the founding board members. My youngest child is 21. She's no longer in school. I've been on the board for the charter school off and on for as long as it's been in existence. So, that's why I don't have any kids in the school. I don't live in West Linn any longer. My commitment to the school is really my passion for what I have seen it do, not only for my own family, but for so many kids that have come through there. And honestly, like I said, my kids started and went back into the West Linn school district and had a wonderful experience. And we have, great schools throughout the district. However, I would say that the unique thing about Three Rivers is the small nature of it. And not all kids learn the way, kind of the mass education provides it. And so, among my 5 children, I would say 2 or maybe 3 of them would have done fine in any school. 2 and maybe, the third one kind of probably did a little bit better. But 2 of them for sure needed a Three Rivers. And it's just because of how they learned. And what I would say is every kid at Three Rivers Charter School is on an IEP. And what I think one of the kids spoke to it, like, you might be really, really good in math and you might be really, really good in science, but you're not very good in English. And you can, the way that the program works, you can actually have a kid be in advanced classes for some core subjects, but really kind of be remedial in something else, but it's not apparent, right? So it doesn't stand out. And then I think that the other beautiful thing about it is kind of the family thing that Nick talked about. You have the older kids teaching the younger kids. Teaching happens in so many different ways there, in terms of the older kids mentoring and learning to be leaders, the younger kids learning from the older kids and learning to look up to them. And that happens also through, like, we've brought high school students in and they were mentors when the 4, 5, 6 was at the high school. That was a beautiful thing. But learning just happens on so many different levels in the school. And so I think it really appeals to kids who have lots of different learning styles. And it meets a special need. And you've seen the results. I think not to say that those kids may not have been able to be successful in other schools, but there's definitely kids that come there and they've had, we get kids that come in the middle. They don't start in 4th grade and they come and then they are able to be successful. So. But I do agree with Nick. I think we've been working really, as part of I really came back to help the founders with their succession plan, and to, knew that they were going to be retiring. I don't know how many of you knew, and then one of the founders passed away, and then the other one retired, and we ended up doing a search and hired Nick, and we couldn't be more happy. He's been a huge, great addition to our team. And, he's had a really successful year. But, to start your year having to come in, take over from founders, and then go through a charter renewal and everything else that, he's had to deal with this year. So I do thank you all for your time and tonight to watch the presentation and to consider our renewal.
Chelsea King Martin.
Aye.
Betty Reynolds.
Aye.
Ginger Fitch.
Aye.
Dylan Hyde.
Aye.
Reagan Molitor.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Before we maybe take a short recess, and as folks are kind of wiggling in their seats, I just want to also thank you, Nick, for your leadership at Three Rivers Charter School, for coming in almost so seamlessly and establishing your leadership, but doing it through really a way of listening and honoring what had been there, honoring your staff, listening very carefully. And I remember you sharing that with me, that you're so impressed with what's already been established, and really coming in with a great deal of care. Lisa, thank you for your many, many years on the board. And I remember too hearing about this multi-age vision of the 4-5-6 and this idea of an option for families and how it's grown has just been really beautiful. And it's a tribute to the dedication of staff, to really strong community support. And I think anytime a school district has some options for families and children, that's a good thing. And to have a very collaborative relationship is even better. So thank you, Karen, Jill, Stephanie, Meg, Denise, who am I missing? Is that it? Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for your tremendous support, for your leaders, for your teachers, and it's really appreciated. And we're really pleased to be able to renew this contract.